Well, we're coming up to our final panel for today, which is AI and future research. And we've got a wonderful panel. I'm going to let them introduce themselves. It's chaired by the New South Wales Chief Scientist and Engineer. And he's going to give some closing remarks at the end of the panel. So, excellent. Hugh, take it away.
Okay, good. Well, we have the world's best about what's going to happen in the future, which is a great subject, I think, to end the day on. I think I will just briefly say who everybody is, but at the beginning of when you're speaking, you might give a little bit of background if you haven't already. So we have Professor Jay Liu from the University of Sydney. We have Pascal van Hentenryck, who gave the talk obviously this morning from Georgia Tech. Toby Walsh from UNSW, and Lina Yao, who's currently at CSIRO, but I think about to move to UNSW as well as a future fellow. So what I'd like to do is talk about the future of AI, and there are lots of diverse views, but I'd like to do it in two parts. I'd like to talk about what's going to happen in the next 1 or 2 years. All right, what is the current thing going to look like? Should we all be out investing in AI shares, or should we all be careful, or should we all buy a bunker and put it in our garden somewhere? And then I'm going to ask later on, what should we be doing in more like 20 or 30 years? How will it change humanity? And I think that's a different kind of take on these things. So, Zhaying, I might start with you, if that's okay.
Yeah. So, we introduce ourselves first, or?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. I'm Jay Liu from University of Technology, Sydney.
Yep.
Currently, I have 2 roles. One, I'm the director of Australia AI Institute at UTS. And we have 30 staff members, covers almost all areas of AI, from machine learning, computer vision, natural language processing, and robots, and so on. And 15 postdocs, 220 PhD students. So quite a large AI institute. So we make our UTS has been ranked top 1 in AI in Australia and one of top 10 globally in last 4 years. So that's my first role. And my second role, currently I'm doing my ARC Laureate Fellow. And my topic is about autonomous machine learning to support decision-making in complex situations. And this will be finished early next year, and immediately I will move to my industry Laureate Fellow, and that will be working on AI for women's health.
Good. Now, what I'd like you to do, though, now is to first question.
Now, first question, 1 or 2 years. Okay, that's relevant easier than 20 years. This just by my personal experience. I think in 1 or 2 years, we have some directions, particularly from this research point of view. The first one is autonomous AI systems. And we have realized that we have a lot of apps in your computer, in your mobile phone. And later on we will do, actually we are doing now, is an AI agent. The AI agent system will deal with the tasks across all the apps to minimize human supervision. Same time, AI this autonomous machine learning, and also will autonomously pick up relevant data to support humans' decision making. That's the first one. I think the second one, quite important, is AI for science. That is for. And we know science has a lot of unsolved problems, and in mathematics, physics, chemistry, and health, and so on. Then AI really is a main driver to drive a new science discover. And that's 2 very important ones, I think.
Yeah, actually, what I realised is I have to hang on to one of the microphones. So where's the other one? Good. Yeah, look, I certainly agree about the science one. I mean, I think point noting that last year, 2 machine learning researchers won the Nobel Prize in medicine. And that shows you, I think, what's changing in scientific discovery. Lina, give me a brief introduction, and what do you think about the next 2 years? What are the big problems?
Yeah, it's a real pleasure to be part of this prestigious event. I'm Lina Yao. I was with CSIRO's Data 61. I was a senior principal research scientist and the science lead for translational machine learning. And I will move into UNSW as a professor and carry out my ARC Future Fellow project very soon. So my background is about machine learning and data mining. Yeah, so now we wrap up everything as AI. So my research actually has been gradually evolving, from the few shot learning, generative modeling, the reinforcement learning to deep learning. And currently my focus is also about the lifelong agentic AI for multimodal decision making. And so I will focus on addressing 3 critical research challenges. One is about the alignment. It's a multifaceted concept to align the LLM agent with human values as well as our physical laws. For example, to handle some knowledge-intensive tasks. Another is about how to equip the agent with the capability to self-evolve by learning from the interactions and the dynamics, and the context and environment. Another is how to further improve the reasoning ability.
Okay.
From my perspective, so in the next 1 or 2 years, I believe we have been actually witnessing the thrive of AI agent, especially the LLM-powered agent. So I can summarize as 2 words. One is the verticalization, because everyone has been making very much effort to transfer the general ability of LLM agent to adapt some domain-specific tasks. So that means how to transfer the ability from the general purpose to the vertical domains like health, like e-business and something else. Another is the personalization. So how to the agent will involve and learn to customize itself to fit each individual. So that will be greatly benefit especially education, e-commerce and health.
That's interesting.
That's all.
Toby, you've been in the area quite a while now, right? You and me both.
40 years.
And I guess you've seen ups and downs in the AI area as well. So again, I'm really keen to get your view as to where you think things are going to go in the next couple of years. Are we going to see huge growth? Are we going to end up in a fall? Whatever. And a bit of background too, Toby.
Well, a little bit of background is that Hugh used to be my boss when he was CEO of NICTA, and Pascal used to be my boss when he was group leader at Data 61. So I'm pleased to be on a panel with my ex-bosses that they still want to talk to me. I actually think it's easier to predict 20 years of future than a few years in the future. I think it's much easier to say, oh yes, we'll be using AI to accelerate the way we do science, transform the way we do science, do things that look at data sets that humans just don't have the capacity to look at, to transform genetics, to transform medicine. There's so many things that I would say in 20 years' time, you can be confident, you can predict that we'll have completely transformed the nature of those pursuits. I think it's much more difficult to predict the next couple of years. I did think until recently that the AI bubble was yet to burst because we're only talking about it being the AI bubble. I remember with the dot-com bubble, we were talking about it being the dot-com bubble for several years, and it was only after we stopped saying it was a bubble, but maybe this is a new type of economics that the bubble really burst. So I was thinking maybe since we've only just started talking about the AI bubble. But then yesterday, I read that Google is proposing putting AI data centers in space. It's like madness. Like why would you spend money trying to get GPUs up into space. It really cannot make any sense other than the fact you can.
24-hour-a-day solar power.
Well, yeah, but, we're a vast continent that the sun shines on most of the time, and, we don't actually need, we have batteries as well if we want solar in the middle of the night. So I'm not sure that, it sounds to me like the worst excesses to think that we should waste the planet's resources by sending rockets up into space to have data centers up there. But at any rate, let's move on. The fact that we're spending billions of dollars a day it's unprecedented, the scale of investment going in, and clearly some of this is very speculative. A number that caught my attention the other day: 2.5% of US GDP is being spent on AI data centers. That is almost again without precedent. There's only one precedent I could find, which was at the height of the railway boom, when they were building the railways in the Industrial Revolution in the US. They were spending 2.5% of GDP. And there's a useful historical lesson to be learned there, which is that lots of people lost money. There were lots of public bonds and being invested in the railways. A few people, the Vanderbilts and the Rockefellers, made a lot of money, but most people lost everything in building out the railways. But building out the railways laid the infrastructure for the economy that became the United States. And the same, I think, is true here, which is that the bubble will continue to expand for a couple of years. Maybe in 2 or 3 years' time, it will burst. A lot of people will lose a lot of money. A few people will make a huge amount of money. But that's irrelevant in the long-term scheme of things, because that's laying the infrastructure for the new type of economy, AI-powered economy, that we will have in 10 or 20 years' time.
Okay, all right. Pascal.
Thank you, Hugh. I'm going to disagree with you guys. I think it's much easier to predict the next 2 years than the next 20 years, and I'm going to tell you why. And Toby started stealing what I wanted to talk about, the dot-com bubble. And what happened in the dot-com bubble was very interesting, right? So it came to the public consciousness that there was this thing like the internet, and everybody was starting building, a website and a e-commerce and so on, and 99% of them failed. One of them, widely succeeded and is one of the largest corporations in the world now. But this is what's going to happen in the next 2 years. Everybody is going to build an AI agent for X. Everybody is going to build a chatbot for X. And 99% are going to fail, and some of them are going to succeed and do something very interesting. We'll talk again in 2 years, but I think that's going to happen. No, at the level.
This is a four-way.
I have 3 more things to say. But I'll let Toby.
Good.
Yeah, you're right. Many of those businesses failed in the dot-com, but the two poster child, Webvan, online groceries, and Pets.com. Those are now proper businesses. They became business even if it wasn't Webvan. It was those things were real businesses.
Okay,
it took a while for us to become businesses.
Yeah, and there is another one, right? So a big one. But anyway, so that's the first thing. The second thing is that, have you seen 8-year-olds play soccer? They bunch together all the time, right? So they just don't know how to play. So this is what's going to happen in science. Everybody is saying, oh, LLM is the new tool. I'm going to do LLM for X, for Y, for Z, for everything. And so all the scientists are going to do that. It's obvious. It's going to be, again, 99% is going to be irrelevant. Some are going to do some interesting things. They're going to try to make them more trustworthy. They're going to try to make them more, I forgot what I wanted to say, but another thing which is very nice, more, whatever. And then more reasoning. So that's what's going to happen. And then I think the third thing that's going to happen is that there is a lot of good work in AI for engineering. Is getting close to being mature. Yeah. That's going to happen. And if Ross is again here, I completely agree with us. At some point, academics are good for doing proof of concept, but you have to bring them to the market. I think that's what's going to happen in the next 2 years. And finally, I'm going to agree with some of the things that you have done. I think the next thing that's going to happen in the next 2 years is AI for scientific discovery. Yep. The Nobel Prize in chemical engineering was an exception because they had massive amount of data. What's going to happen in the next 2 years is accumulating a lot of data on many different scientific fields such that you can actually do the same thing in those fields. I'll stop there.
So let me start by disagreeing with the last thing you said. I mean, one of the things that's interesting about that Nobel Prize, right, is they had almost no data. They only had 200,000. They only had 200,000 protein sequences, and they used it to predict 20 million.
Yeah,
of
but
them.
they had the
They used a
sequences
good
that we had
exactly.
done
They
in the
used a
past.
good model, and
Yeah,
I think
they had-
that's important.
And this was not an LLM again, so this was a very
Yeah.
special.
So I want to unpack that slightly before we move on to the long term, right? There is a big focus on things like LLM. The guy over there, the engineer who said something a little earlier, I do have a concern that you cannot say or provide any guarantees about the use of LLMs in almost anything. Which means that, the reality is, I think you can only use them in things where there is a person involved who genuinely does it. And there aren't any known rules to transfer one thing to another thing, if you see what I mean.
Yeah.
So I wonder whether we're putting all our money on a horse that isn't even going to finish the race.
Yeah, but I'm not putting my money on LLMs, but
Okay.
no, but let me tell you a little bit. Let me tell you a little bit what I see happening. So, LLMs obviously is a very general machinery.
Yep.
I think people are starting building, and this is also called foundational models for natural language processing. So I think what is happening as well is that there is a lot more foundational models that are being appearing. Foundational model for the grid, foundational model for X, for Y, and they are going to try to capture some of the physics or some of the chemistry or some of the biology and so on. I think again, by definition of the way they are trained, they will have limitation. But I think the next step is combine that with kind of techniques that can guarantee things, and I think there will be a lot of progress there. So I think LLM are going to be useful as a kind of first step, but they will be complemented by reasoning techniques and things that a lot of us have been working for like 40 years, on, and they're going to start merging in interesting ways. It's already happening.
So, I mean, maybe I'll switch to Toby.
I think
here,
you're
but I also-
unduly pessimistic, though, about the failings of LLMs, which are many, because they're also the failings of humans. Most
Yes.
of them are, but we put humans in delicate places. I think medicine is a wonderful example where we surround them. We've constructed these institutions around the humans that we put in these life or death situations, so that we can put our lives in their hands.
Yep.
And the challenge we have is not that LLMs are a bad technology that can never be fixed, it's that we need to construct the institutions around them so that we can put them in those sorts of places.
So, I mean, now that comes to a key thing. In the next couple of years, now let's spread ourselves out to 5 to 10 years, right? What do we need to be doing now to make sure we are in the right position to use AI properly and actually make it apply in engineering, in human situations, in science discovery, in all these areas? What problems, at a science level, do we genuinely need to start addressing, and what social problems do we genuinely have to start addressing?
I mean, let me mention one of the elephants in the room, which is that I don't think we can continue to move fast and break things.
Yep.
When we're breaking young girls' body image, when we're breaking our democracy, I think we've discovered, hopefully, the experiment we did with social media and the tech companies so far, that maybe we have to take a little more care, and that maybe we have to be a bit more careful. And it does worry me that, for example, now we're going at speed now with agentic AI, which is like giving this stuff some agency to do more things in the world and do more harm, and yet we're still not putting in the governance and the guardrails to ensure that. I mean, the other problem being, and again we saw this with social media, which is that sometimes we're talking about really small harms, but multiplied by billions of people, and those become really significant numbers of people. We're already starting to see this with AI chatbots being used as therapy bots, as being used as companion bots, and we're seeing already people have committed suicide. And the thing that blew my mind, I was listening to a very sad interview with the parents of someone who sadly committed suicide after long sessions with ChatGPT, and at one point ChatGPT said, "Can I help you write your suicide note?" And the fact that there has no safeguard put in to prevent the chatbot from actually saying that.
Okay, yeah, I agree. Xi, do you want to? What do you think the next 5? What are the problems we need to be working on the next 5 years?
Consider we are working on Industry 4.0 at the moment. Industry 4.0 has two main key technologies. One is automation, another is big data. So we are working on it. And consider the problem or challenges after 5 years, probably 5 to 10 years, we will be Industry 5.0. The key technologies for Industry 5.0 is not big data, not only automation, it's human-machine collaborations and personalization or personalized AI. For the first one, human-machine collaborations, that is a challenge because humans and machines will be team members. Then these machines, including software and hardware, robots and AI tools, and consider you have a team, your team members, some are human and some are AIs. And you should let machines to understand human, and then human, you should control AIs, how to manage that team, how to work collaboratively. Currently, mainly humans use AI as tools, but later on, not only tools, will be your team members, then how you manage them and collaboratively work with them. And to achieve something each side couldn't achieve. That's the key aim for human-machine collaboration. I think that's a challenge.
Okay. I'll ask you about the science one in a minute. But Lina, what do you think? The next 5 years, you've got a fellowship. What's the problems that really need solving so that we are not in these sorts of positions with chatbots and we can genuinely work effectively with AI?
Yeah, from my perspective, so I think if it were me, so my focus would be further explore how to develop the more effective reinforcement learning method for the verified reward. Because as we know, for the current LLM, the large language models, foundation models, reinforcement learning from human feedback is one of the mainstream post-training method to further align the LLM agent with humans' preferences, all the knowledge loss, something like this. Yeah. So, but actually, for many tasks, it's hard to define the reward model. It's hard to define the verifier. For example, for the mathematical questions, so we know the answer. Usually the answer is the only one, the unique, right? It's easy to verify. So if anything can be verified, so anything can be solved using AI. But for some tasks, for example, to ask the AI to judge if the generated method or generated novel generated tests are satisfied or not, it's actually more subjective. It's hard to verify it. So for me, to make sure the agent maybe can be employed in a safe manner, so how to maybe to define a comprehensive verified framework would be the foundation, and okay. I'm very interested in.
Look, I'm going to ask Pascal in a minute, but I'm going to prelude it by something we had a conversation about a year ago. I come from a robotics background, and for me, to get a robot into the field, I have to guarantee it will never go wrong. Yeah. All right? And it goes into the Pilbara or wherever, and it operates for 15 years, and it never can go wrong. Yeah. And so it's very hard to use some of the now standard AI techniques to build systems like that. And I have to come up with, if you like, not just guardrails like you were talking about, but genuinely ones that provide guarantees. And the conversation we had, if you remember, was about optimizing energy grids. Yeah. And again, the AI that's used in that, you have to make some kind of guarantee. Yeah. You can't just let things rip, if you see what I mean. Yeah. How do we genuinely develop a new kind of approach to even developing these things that provide useful guarantees about what will happen and how they'll behave?
So I think in the space you worked on and the space I'm working in these days, I think you have some notions of the physical work, the infrastructure, and the way you control the various, your robots, or I'm controlling the grid. And I think I think the key point is that you should not rely on something like an LLM to believe that they know the rules of physics or the control systems that you have to use. So you need the fundamental understanding of the physical world or the biological world. And that has to inform the system. So you can still use predictive learning techniques for actually approximating things. But at some point you have to satisfy those rules, the rule of the physical world, the safety constraints that are hard constraints that you have to satisfy. And I think we can do that. That's one of the things that I wanted to mention. You can do that, and we should do that. But that's very different from what is happening now. So in a sense, what I'm talking about here is that what we need to define is not large language models or large foundational model. We should define small or domain-specific foundational model where we understand where we apply the technology and we can provide the guarantees. I work in an area which is nice. It's optimization control systems. You have guarantees from them. Fundamentally, you have guarantees in the systems that we are using right now, but they're just too slow. And so what you have to do is preserve those guarantees and speed the technology by orders of magnitude while preserving those guarantees. And for me, it's like use the domain expertise and and then use the AI technology, merge them together, and that's the winning proposition in my opinion. And one of the things to address also the question that you asked before is, what do we need to do that? We need better education. We need people to actually be more generalist instead of being really highly specialized into anything. So anybody should have an AI classes when they start undergraduate education. They should have them in high school as well, so that they understand the technology and the limits of the technology and also the potential uses of the technology.
This is exactly the weaknesses of LMs and the strength of science, which is in science we have a model of the world and we have physics equations that describe the evolution of that model. And LLMs are remarkable that they manage to achieve what they do without any of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's a good thing, because the thing that really I am most interested in my research life at the moment is what machine learning can actually do for scientific discovery. And I have to say my focus, interestingly, has not been in robotics, it's been in biology. Yeah. And biology is not physics. Yeah. So there was a wonderful article published 3 days ago in Science, the front cover of Science, about building a machine learning based model for a cell, metabolism, everything, okay? And they've been working on it for 20 years. It's not a trivial thing. And the ability of that to be used in terms of predictive outcomes for disease and things like that is, I think, potentially remarkable. And that's where I think we're going to see AI, in that sense, is more useful in domains which are not physics. Yeah. That they genuinely do have opinions and are hard to model. That, if you like, in some sense, data models better. So, I mean, I'm interested. You said, I mean, the science discovery. I'm going to come to Xi in a minute because you mentioned it as well. But I'll let you have 1 or 2 words.
Yeah, 1 or 2 words. The book I'm reading now is The Life of the Cells. In biology, this is like the century of the cell. So this is super interesting. As I told to the audience before, my daughter is a doctor, and we talk about cell biology and systems all the time. And I agree with you. I think what we need to do is understand these systems better, and that's where machine learning can help. That's where simulation techniques can help, and learning them at higher speed is helping. I completely agree that scientific discovery in the biology space is the next frontier. Australia is actually in a very good position given the biodiversity that you have and the scientific basis that you have. It's a massive opportunity. If I had to put money on something, that's what I would put my money on.
So can we just get a microphone here with Xi? So you talked about AI applied to science discovery at the start. So tell us where you think it's going.
Yeah, I can give you an example. I and my team have been working with 23 students. Australia, as Sydney, is a gene industry company. We have been working together for 7 or 8 years through many projects. So what we are working on, actually, one important thing is try to discover new associations between genes and disease. So we do a lot of genetic data analysis and generate some new associations for some significant disease like a stroke. And currently we are working on indoor matrices And those one is will be used for the company to put into their service reports, and also provide to clinical staff to support their decisions, and have early warning to people who did gene test. That's it. Two guarantee you mentioned. And we really not only improve productivity, not only improve accuracy of prediction, and also we consider guarantees. We use the mathematics model and to prove some algorithms, but more important, we use the more data to test our models. Australia, we have genomic data, but we think not sufficient, not enough. So we also talked to UK Biobank, the UK biggest these gene data sites, get access. We talked to US, all of us, also very big gene data sites. Each has millions people's records. So we developed advanced transfer learning, and we transfer knowledge learned from UK Biobank and US, all of us, and to support our prediction for Australia, and also this make a more evaluation, more measurement to make this accuracy and guarantee of our models to support industry to put into their service reports.
Okay. Look, I might move, Leah. Why don't you go first on this one? 20 years from now, okay, when I'm going to be retired by a long way, okay, what is this society going to look like? And I just put a bit of context on that. Sometimes I look back, 25 years ago when we were building autonomous vehicles even then, all right? And we were doing AI, and in fact I would say there was a period where robotics did AI and nobody else did AI, if you see what I mean, because it had fallen off the edge with expert systems. So I often wonder, we often think a lot of things are going to happen, but I'm not so sure how much. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So 20 years, what do you think we will be doing?
Yeah, so in 20 years, if I project, so I think, I assume we already overcome the limit of energy, use nuclear or any other, and see.
We'll still be arguing about whether to have a nuclear plant. Yeah.
I think the AI will be embedded in ubiquitous devices, maybe not our mobile phone anymore, maybe our glasses, our watch, so that each very tiny device can run the very comprehensive and powerful AI agent. Yeah, so, and I can see the VR and MR also will be thriving. I hope my daughter can enjoy the future world. So AI is everywhere, and maybe we already go to Mars as well.
and should we be worried?
Yeah, I think the government and also the researchers and practitioners, we all, in the meantime, in parallel, everyone is also working on how to better regulate and provide the guardrails for AI development. I think they can be developing in parallel. So for me, maybe I'm an optimist.
Yep.
Yeah, so I'm not worrying.
Okay, good. All right, well, I'll come back in 20 years and ask you how it's going. You hang on to that, Mike, and Toby and Pascal have their own. And they can fight over it.
You said it was easy, right?
Okay, 20 years. You might be retired too by that point, right? What do you think it's going to look like?
I hope it's going to look good. We'll have solved the energy problem. It's a temporary problem, the energy problem, because at the moment, commercial firms are getting technical advantage by outspending each other. And we know that intelligence doesn't require huge amounts of energy. Intelligence requires 20 watts of energy. That's a third of the energy your body produces goes to your head. It's interestingly, your brain uses more energy than your heart.
Yep.
And it uses so much energy, it has to be on your shoulders to radiate the excess heat. But you can do intelligence in 20 watts, and we want to do intelligence in 7 watts of power, because it then can run on your mobile phone. Mm-hmm. And you don't have to share it with anyone. And we're already starting to shoehorn stuff into mobile phones. So energy is a temporary thing where people are trying to buy competitive advantage by outspending each other, and we should be outraged that they're burning more carbon dioxide and using all our water up. There's no necessity for them to do that. Yep. We will get to a point where...
Send them out to space, check.
Send them out to space. We'll get to a point, we'll be sitting in our self-driving cars. I'm pretty sure the cars will be doing driving, and that will be fantastic. The 1,000 people that die every year in road traffic accidents in Australia will not be dying in road traffic. It's not the same 1,000 people every year. It will be, there will be not zero, because still trees fall onto roads and other random things happen, but it will be a significantly smaller number, and we will look back and think, it was the Wild West. We let people drive cars. Can you imagine how mad that was? For the petrol heads in the room, I'm sure we will still have people allowed to drive cars, but I think the metaphor...
Only on thing. Although even with that one, right, I mean, I'm old enough to remember Carnegie Mellon's No Hands Across America project in the 1980s.
Yes.
And they drove 98% of the way across America without ever touching the steering wheel. And I agree we've got to 99.99 now, but it's interesting how little progress we've actually made in that area, given the length of time. That's 40 years ago.
Yeah, the final few percent are quite tough few percent.
They are, yeah.
But highway driving is pretty...
No, that I would agree. Yeah.
So you can have long-distance trucks doing most of the long-distance trucking.
That I would agree.
That's going to transform our economy.
And what about negativities? What are we going to watch out for in 20 years?
Well, I think we also have to, that's the positive future. All the futures are still available to us. That's the problem. And there's a future in which, we're starting to be in a world in everything that we see is chosen for us and is actually even made for us by artificial intelligence. The algorithms are selecting what content you see. The algorithm increasingly generating that content. And what sort of world it is in which we're all living our own different filter bubbles and we're all being told different untruths, and we can't tell what's true or false. I mean, it's very difficult now. You see a little video and you're not sure whether it's true or false, and what sort of world it is where we lose touch with truth because we don't believe anything. The price is paid by the people telling the truth, because we don't believe anything we see anymore, because it's all, so much of it is fake. So I worry what sort of, already truth is a pretty fungible idea, a pretty contested idea. What sort of world it might be if we're not careful, in which everything is contested. The things that we should be believing in, the things like vaccines that have saved millions of lives, that have transformed, got rid of polio and things like this from our society that used to afflict us, the climate emergency that we're still debating. We've still got politicians who still debate the veracity of the climate emergency. It's like, no, it's happening, you can see it. Well, what sort of world it will be if all of our truths are as contested as that?
I'll talk to you afterwards. 20 years from now.
I should never go after Toby, but anyway. So 20 years from now, so I agree with Toby, energy is not going to be an issue, so that's going to be solved. I think the big changes that you're going to see is education and health and healthcare. That's the two things that everybody cares about. That's the major expenses on any budget on any country. Education is going to be fundamentally different. You would not recognize education. I think we're going to go back into more one-to-one education, offloading most of the learning offline, and making sure that it's fun again. If you know what Montaigne was doing when he was young, he had fun learning, and so I think we have to restore the fun in learning, and we have to have more one-to-one breakout rooms kind of interactions. That's one. Healthcare is going to change completely the way we the way we deliver healthcare, the relationship with the doctors. And then all the advances that are going to come from, genomics and cell biology and so on, is going to be completely different. I'm looking forward to that. It's going to be much more affordable. The system is going to completely change.
It's going to be much more personal.
It's going to be much more personal, much more dedicated. It's going to be based on your data. Of course, there are protections to put into place, such that you don't, penalize people who may not have the best genes, but but I think it's going to be completely transformed. I don't think there will be any cars. I love driving, but I don't think there will be any cars. Even though we are 99.9% there and we may never get to 100%, I think we will be accepting the fact that there are no cars and there are no congestion and we can move anywhere.
How do we get around?
Well, you get around with micromobility for the first and last mile, and the rest is going to be automated in a safe fashion.
Scooters.
Yeah, scooters, especially in Australia where the weather is good. I think the other thing that I think we need to take care of, and this is aligning to what Toby has said, is that we need to rethink about if we survive, we'll have a political system that is actually taking into account the human condition and making sure that we don't live in virtual world, because evolution has made us to live in the real world, in the physical world. We react to body language. We have inhibition when we interact in the physical world that we don't have when we interact in the virtual world. So we have to make sure that kids spend more time, talking to each other. There is more communication. We'll have more time on our hands, most probably, so we have to make sure that people can devote attention to arts, to sports, to anything that they will see as valuable for what they have to do.
What did you mean by if we survive?
So
there is a good scenario and there is a bad scenario.
Calm down. So I do think you brought up a very important, one of the most important points, which is AI offers the opportunity to make things personalized, whether it's health or education or transport or anything like that. Yeah. And that in the end will deliver real benefits for individuals and will help, I think, with the inclusion problem and diversity and everything else actually that goes along with that. And I think that's a real plus.
And so when I say if we survive, I think it has to be an inclusive way of integrating AI. So as you know, I work with Panama. We have to make sure that AI is going to be for the city, it's going to be for the rural areas. If you don't do it, it's going to be a disaster.
Yeah,
so that's what I meant.
Yeah. G, you're the last one up here. 20 years from now.
20 years.
You'll still be working, not retired.
Okay. Still think about this, my previous response, Industry 5.0. That by European document that will be implemented in 2030 to 2035. So about 10 years later. And at that time, the two key technologies, one is, I mentioned, the human-machine collaboration. And that time, I believe AI's software, hardware have been everywhere, and you have been used to work with AI. Actually, now it's already, I'll give you an example. You take a Sydney trains to travel? I believe yes. And in New South Wales, we have 240 stations. And at the moment, we have over 500 platforms. Every platform has a screen. If you realize that from early this year, in the screen has 8 carriages of the train, yellow, red, green. Yep. Green, more rooms available, red, busy room. That's I and my team developed. By using machine learning, we have a data stream prediction, and we use the fuzzy model to consider, morning, afternoon, Saturday, Sunday, and weekday, and public holiday, and even sometimes consider special event. So this is real-time prediction. It's the train is in Redfern. We real-timely have a prediction about the central. So you have been used to actually to enjoy the benefit from AI because this significantly benefit every traveler's travel experience. But also another very important function that's significantly reduce the cost of maintenance of carriages. Maybe you don't realize, but that is the main purpose of Sydney trains. So that is one part. After 10 or more 20 years, we have been used to work with AI and together collaboratively. Second one, also I mentioned that the second key technology is personalized. So personalized AI, that will be in personal education and personalized medicine. So what I'm doing at the moment to find human genes and disease association and so on, that's all about the personalized health recommendations. So different persons should have different types of healthcare program. That is because that's we are different. So how to provide personalized medicine, Medicare, and that is this after 10 years. And at the same time, university I'm very familiar with, I believe will become to AI university. Why we need this you and me to mark assignment? AI can do. And every student should have a personalized education. Different students, you have different goals, different target. We organize different assignments, different materials, different books to read, different lecture to attend, different personalized tutorials, why not? So that's what I'm thinking after 10 years or to 20 years.
Good, okay. Yeah, I still think there's a role for proper mentorship, though, in that sort of thing. So, you know, I think there's a lot of personalized everything, but there's also something which is more about the human element, which is going to remain important. Anyway, my opportunity to open it up to the audience now. There are so many questions. You're such a popular panel. Who's organising it? Who's got the? Let's go at the front to start with. It's Hugh, isn't it?
Branko.
Okay, go for it.
There's been a lot of damage done, and we've got the most polarised political and social system we've ever had in the Western world. And I blame AI for a fair bit of that in the way that it reinforces and creates echo chambers in the way that people communicate through all the systems that exist today. When will AI start to reverse that? By challenging, Toby actually made some reference to this, so that when you have an echo chamber, instead of having an echo, you actually are challenged, so that you are open, that your perspective is opened, not closed, that you have more socially enabling attitudes developed through AI, not reinforcement of negative attitudes.
So maybe if I could get Toby perhaps to tackle that question, can I do that?
Yeah, no, you put your finger on a real problem. I mean, I dislike listening to music on Spotify because it only plays me the songs I liked, which means I start to dislike them because it's played them so many times. It doesn't challenge me with new music that will actually move my musical taste on. And similarly with my politics, that if we live in an AI-filtered bubble that reinforces our views, doesn't challenge us, doesn't confront us, and that was because that was commercially successful for engaging us. And we're doing the same again with these language models, which is why they are the worst possible things to sit down and have therapy with, because they never say, "Oh, Toby, it's 3 o'clock in the morning. You've been talking to me for 4 hours. Maybe you should go to get some sleep." Because they actually just want to sell you more tokens. Yeah. And so they only say open-ended questions. "Oh, that's very interesting, Toby. Let's talk about this more." So we're going to repeat if we're not careful, because the incentives are actually the wrong incentives. They're not actually worrying about our meaningful engagement.
Yeah, you have 2 words.
Yeah, 2 words. So I think if you look at history, when the printing press came about as well, there was exactly the same negativity. And so it was used for, creating these tensions between different communities. The key point at this point is, can we resolve this? And what are the mechanisms to do this? But we have been there in history and we have solved it. It's more complicated now because the technology is much more powerful. But, I think we really need to think about this correctly.
But it's not a technical problem at all. It's a regulatory problem. Yeah, exactly. We have to set up the institutions. And we actually, in Australia, we have one great thing. We have things like the e-safety commissioner who can actually stand and say, "Okay, no, this is actually how you're going to actually have to regulate these things." At least we're on the thing that fills me with some hope is that we're a little bit more on the front foot. With social media, it's after the event. We've seen the harms that happened. We've already, a generation of young children, sadly, are much more anxious, have much more body image, and have paid the price of that natural experiment. At least with AI, we're now asking these questions and we're just at the beginning. So I'm hopeful in that respect.
Next.
Hi.
Yes.
What are your thoughts on edge intelligence and inference models?
So we might have a technical answer at this end. Maybe we might go for
Reinforcement learning?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, your area.
Sorry, pardon, I didn't.
Can you repeat the question?
Sorry,
I'm
can you repeat
very
the
quickly.
question?
What are your thoughts on edge intelligence and inference models? You know, these days you can build little smart devices that, and you can build that inference model after distilling down model from a large cloud service, and then that model has the same capability to do things at the edge. So you start getting intelligence at the edge.
Yeah.
And that's what kind of effect is it going to have?
Go for it.
Got it. Thank you so much. It's quite a good question.
Yep.
Yeah. So actually, to generalize the intelligence to the edge devices, actually the current solution is one of the mainstream solutions is federated learning. Yeah. Usually, we will train the parameters on the central server, but only pass the well-trained model parameters to the edge devices in the edge network. So in this way, so the edge devices don't need to spend computational resources to train the large-scale parameters. And also the edge devices can collect some data locally and also maintain the data locally. And the data they collected from each local devices don't need to be transmitted to the central data. In this sense, the private data can also be very well preserved locally. So, and in this way, only the parameters are transmitted between the server and the edge devices. And each edge devices will also form a dynamic network to exchange and integrate their parameters and inference results to the server to keep synchronized.
Okay.
I'm not sure if I answered the question.
Nick? Sorry, go for it. So I should stand up so I can see this side. Hi, how are you?
Hi, Hugh, how are you? I've got sort of two threads in the conversation about education, and I think, Hugh, you just picked up that you can go too far with personalisation of learning. I think a lot of what we've learnt about learning over recent years has been it's fundamentally more effective when it's done in a social situation. But I also wanted to pick up on the comment that Pascal made this morning about how the relationship, our relationship with knowledge is going to change. And I wondered if you could kind of weave those two threads together to talk about the evolution of learning.
Pascal, there you go.
Oh, okay, so this is tough. So I think the first thing that I would say is that people have to understand what the ground truth, and we've talked about that. And so I think it's very important that we build what is called authority networks, things where we can go and where we are sure that the data is actually representing true facts and true knowledge. It has been vetted. That's the first thing. Education, I think, is going to change completely. I think I agree with you that community education is having groups of people learning together is actually much better, and also this mentorship relationship that has been what humans have been doing for since we became a species, right? And so I think this is very important. This is how we have evolved. The fact that we communicate with each other, that we share knowledge and so on. So I think we have to rethink this, think a lot less about evaluating people and make them learn and make it fun again. And so I think this is I think we can do this, and I think we're going to be forced to do that for budget, because of the budgets and the cost of education. But I think this is a way to rethink everything from scratch here. And I'm really looking forward to that. I think COVID for me was very helpful because I had to completely change my classes. I built a studio at home, I built videos, but then when I was interacting, so I had very professional videos, but when I went interact with the students, it was one-on-one. And this made a huge difference on that particular set of students. And we can actually replicate that in a physical infrastructure, having kind of, you organize, things as breakout rooms, but in a physical space. And you can have this mentorship relationship and people working together. Toby?
I think we have to be very careful that AI doesn't decide what is true for us. We're already going down that road where you do a Google search, it's the AI overview that tells you, and most people only read the AI overview. I mean, it's frightening to see Grokopedia, where Musk is giving his version or his algorithm's version of what is true, that we might easily, if we're not careful, end up in a world in which AI is generating the things that we believe in, whether they're true or not.
That is interesting. Yes, I agree. I think it's the whole area of education in the future is going to be it's going to be a big challenge, but a real opportunity too, to get some different things right. Just a microphone there.
Judith Wielden. In the last hour, we got to what really matters. I want to say I think it's been a terrific day. I've learned a lot, but I would like people to do a little mental experiment, a little bit of data before we go on. How many times has the word engineering come up? How many of you are engineers or teach engineering? How fundamental, just about every hand will have gone up. How fundamental is engineering to the whole area of artificial intelligence? And obviously the answer is very, very, very fundamental. And that's good, I'm not criticizing that in the least. But the most important thing that I want to put forward and ask for a reaction to is something that is fundamentally different from the discussion we've had about AI, and that is education. And the reason it's different is because it is not engineering, it is the humanities, it is what makes us human. And I, as a still active teacher, see very, very clearly some of the things that are happening. And this is really a follow-on from your very well-focused question. It is important to use AI for personalizing education to some extent, but that's just fancying up what we've already been doing. What I maintain that we've been doing at the same time without noticing is de-skilling and dehumanizing our students. And I'm talking about preschool, kindergarten, primary school, high school. University, say whatever you like. People are older, different issues come up. But students today are looking for someone else to do the work for them. The HSC helps in that. It's a school ground for how to get someone else to do your work. But vocabularies are shrinking. AI is being used to write whole essays or to submit what you've written and get it prettied up, or to see if what you've written is good because you don't have judgment yourself to decide if your work is good. I believe we are fundamentally taking skills away from young people. And one of the reasons that's happening is because the teachers don't have the skills, because they don't know, because they haven't been taught. They're working hard. I'm not criticizing the teachers. It's a fix we've gotten ourselves into.
So
how can we look at the human values of education, stop engineering, start developing young people and giving them the confidence
so I'm going to change
to learn?
Thank you. I think you made some very valuable comments, but I'd like to also change the question, if I might, and recognise that we do have that we will or do have these challenges, right? Yes. But the issue is, and I'll let you speak to it then. How do we actually do this in a way which is really going to end up with those human type of results?
Yeah, for this, we consider after 10, 20 years AI university, and this doesn't stop this humans, this interaction, and that's we still have this we call, we just focus on university, and there's team assignments, right? But if you have 10 teams, maybe the 10 teams could have different assignments, just to meet their requirement about their future job. So we can still one-to-one people, people-to-people communication. More important, because we have some online systems, so you not only talk to people in your classroom, you can talk to people in US, in Europe, Belgium, United States, UK, that is make you have more friendships to build the relationships.
Okay, so I might get us all to say something and finish on this. Go for it.
Yeah.
Toby, or do you have you
Yeah, I sometimes jokingly worry that in 20 years' time, the machines are smarter than us, not because the machines are smarter, but because we're more stupid, that we've dumbed ourselves down. And so I do sympathise with much of your concerns. And I do think this is an opportunity for us to rethink why do we have education? What is the purpose of education? A lot of what I think we need to do is actually quite old-fashioned, which is to go back. It disappoints me so much as a scientist, as an engineer, to see the way that we've devalued the humanities. Because they teach many of the things that I think are really important. The critical thinking skills, the communication skills. Those are the things that humanities have always taught. I wish I'd had more of that when I was studying my science and engineering, and it was forced upon me. I wasn't allowed to choose it. But I do think that we have an opportunity now to think and to use the tools in ways that can personalize and improve. I'm incredibly jealous of the tools that my daughter has. She started studying for HSEs. She was sitting in the back of the car the other day, and her computer was asking her questions in French, and she was replying in French. I thought, when I was revising from French, I didn't have something I could actually, I could practice my French on. So I'm incredibly jealous of the tools that are available, but equally I'm very aware that we're now starting to think, well, one of the purposes of education is work. It's not the only purpose, it's one of the purposes. And work is going to be different, and we need to think what sort of the critical skills. Okay. And we also need to think about, the bigger purpose of education, which is to prepare us to be, to achieve things in our life, to be good citizens. And that may actually mean going back in many respects to the things that we used to do.
Lina.
Yes, yeah. Okay, yeah, I understand your concern. Yeah, so my daughter is in high school. Yeah, actually, my strategy is I allow her using AI. Yeah, but under my supervision. But for doing her homework, she must solve it by herself without AI's assistance. Yeah. Because I think under this age, yeah, so. The child definitely needs the supervision and the guidance. But after that, so I think AI, from my perspective, is more like a companion, not stealing our skills from humans. Yeah, so it's more like a companion, can work with us and learn with us. Yeah, together to. Ultimately can improve our humans, ourselves. So I think it's with the appropriate guidance and supervision. So children should be exposed in AI environment to
That's
align.
Great. Thank you, Lina. Yes. And finally, Pascal. Start with Pascal and finish with Pascal.
A couple of points. So the first one is with respect to what is happening in engineering school and computer science. So I ran an experiment 2 years ago using all the assignments in my class using ChatGPT, and these are programming, projects. And ChatGPT would get 50% correct, and the other 50% were too difficult. So what did I do? I just took the first 50%, make them harder, and make the other 50% even harder. And now they can't use the tools, and they have to really start thinking. So this is an opportunity. That's the first thing that I wanted to say. So we have an opportunity to rethink and to make sure that the students are actually thinking about what they are doing and using the tools that they have at their disposal to actually solve problems that are more complicated. So that's number one, and this is purely engineering. So I come from Europe, so I was educated in a European university, which means that the first 2 years I had to study law, I had to study sociology, psychology, philosophy, in addition to statistics, probability, and so on. So I think that education, I value it tremendously. I actually love very much what we talked about today. Two things that came to mind just now. The first one is the law panel was amazing, because in a sense, the way I was thinking about this is that they were describing the law as it has been going for centuries. And at the same time, technology can actually benefit from that, but then can also inform what we can do. Because the new tools that we have could actually do fairness in a better fashion or equity in a better fashion. So I think there is a lot of things that we can do if we have a broad education and merge the two areas. In the health panel, there was something that I don't remember who said that, but she was the general practitioner, and she said something very interesting. They actually adopted AI to be more productive, right? So see more patients, because that's, you know, how they get revenue. But at the end, it didn't work that way. And what happened is that, you know, the patient were more happy, the doctors was more happy. And so what I want to focus on is when we build engineering system, when we build computer science system or AI system, we can still choose what the objective is. We can choose the way we are going to build this system and what is going to be not the return on investment, but the overall goal of the system. And I think we need to think about that and how we're going to deploy AI such that it matches kind of the value of the society we live in. So that's what I wanted to say.
I want everyone to thank the wonderful panel, and I'm 5 minutes over. Thank you very much.